Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Tom. It's good to be with you here on this Facebook Live. And a few weeks ago, some of you may have seen that I had a Facebook Live and a post where I was suggesting that you stop doing guided meditations. And I had some reasons why, about how it activates different parts of the brain rather than silence. And it actually got some of the most vehement responses and engagement. Some people actually really loved it. Some people were kind of offended that I would suggest that they stop doing guided meditations, and clearly people love them. So I wanted to follow up on that one and nuance a little bit what I was trying to say in there. Now, I stand behind what I put in there in terms of what I believe is the best way to do a contemplative prayer or meditation practice, to really learn a practice that you can do on your own and get into that deep silence where deep healing can take place, where the grace of God can really act at the deepest levels and kind of bring out that inner core of goodness and wisdom and creativity and innovation. But I think maybe what came out, or what some people took from it, was that I was saying that guided meditations are inherently bad, or that you really shouldn't do them, or they're leading you astray or something like that, which actually wasn't my point. My point was rather to say that I recognize they can be very helpful for a lot of people, and at some point there's a call to go deeper, and that even the guided meditations that I've put out there in different apps and on my website and things can become an obstacle despite the good things that come with it. So why was I suggesting this, and where do I really want to go with this? So again, recognizing that some of you get a lot out of guided meditations, and maybe even use mine, or have found me through that. And the real goal here for me, this is sort of the ultimate purpose for why I do all of this, is that I really want you to be able to experience a deep and lasting healing from chronic stress or anxiety, to connect at the most intimate and deep level possible with God, or a higher power, or transcendent source of our being, however you think of that or believe, and to get in touch with your true purpose and power that resides within and gets covered up by all the anxiety and stress and distractions that we have in our modern busy lives, so that you can stay centered and aligned with your purpose and your power for the rest of your life. And the best way that I know how to do that is to teach you and guide you into a silent contemplative practice. Now, I mentioned all this really cool stuff that I know is possible when you get into a daily practice, but I also want to say, like, this doesn't mean that you're going to do it perfectly, or that you will stop having problems, or everything will be perfect in your life just by doing this, because we're all human, myself included. I admit the last few weeks have been really stressful for me, and I keep coming back to my practice as that foundation. But rather, I want you to have something you can come back to and do on your own. Again, you don't need the guided meditation. Maybe you still use an app for a timer or something, and come back to in order to get recentered. So guided meditations, they can be really helpful for getting you started. And what I've found is at some point there's this desire to go deeper that comes up, to maybe the metaphor here is like taking off the training wheels and move into a healing silence. And at some point, that longing comes up if you do the practice. So guided meditations can help you get into the practice. It can help you get started. And I always tell people, they can be really great. And there are a lot of teachers out there that are really excellent. Those teachers are all out there doing their own practice, just like I do my own practice of centering prayer and meditation and teach out of that. So if you're kind of at that point where you've gotten some good benefits, but you're looking for that next step, that longing for something more, then that's where, I'm coming in and having this conversation or inviting you into something deeper. Now, the challenge here too is that a lot of people get this longing or desire to go deeper in doing guided meditations, or maybe not guided meditations, but just other kinds of prayer that you do. And there's this longing for something deeper, but not everybody recognizes it. So the question that might be helpful for some of you to think about is, how, maybe you're wondering, well, how do I know if I'm really ready for this deeper kind of move into silence and deeper healing? Now, interestingly, there are some classic signs that come up in the great mystics and teachers across multiple traditions. And what's so cool is, I kind of started out as an academic geek reading about this stuff, and as I've moved into doing this work more directly with people, I hear them talking about these same experiences that people have been writing about for centuries. So some of the ways this can show up, this deeper longing, can show up in maybe the old ways of praying or doing meditations kind of feel like they're not working in quite the same way before. And that could include guided meditations, but it could also include forms of prayer or worship that you grew up with, or that just don't seem to be kind of grasping you at that same depth or level. St. John of the Cross, a great mystic in the Christian tradition, calls this a spiritual dryness, a kind of inner sense of dryness, like the presence just isn't there before. Sometimes it can feel like the absence or distance of God, a sense of feeling abandoned, like the ways you used to feel connected to God or to a higher power are no longer there. It can also manifest in a loss in joy in things that used to bring you happiness. It could be work or career or vocation. It could be different relationships that you don't necessarily want to like leave behind, but they're not bringing that same kind of joy and connection they used to do. Or it could be frustration with some of the external forms of religion or spiritual traditions that you've grown up with. But you don't have a desire to like leave behind the faith or the spiritual practice that is so grounding and important to you. But frustration with the external forms that can sometimes come with it. It can also just show up as just plain old stress, anxiety, and overwhelm or burnout that starts to just take over your life, and that can spill over into that dryness that we talked about before. So one of the other things that John of the Cross and these other great teachers in the tradition talk about, though, is that this discomfort actually is often a gift from God. It's a gift from the Spirit or from something beyond. And if you're willing to listen to that discomfort and stay in it, which of course is the hardest thing to do when it's coming because you feel this sort of like loss of meaning on the inside. But the gift in the inside of it is that discomfort, that dis-ease may very well be something that is placed there on purpose, that's calling you to go deeper, to get in touch with your inner core of goodness and wisdom that isn't based on external achievement or needing things to be perfect or needing to control things. And then discover what you were truly meant to give back to the people that you lead, to your family, to your business, to your community, and beyond, to find the gem maybe even inside of the suffering and maybe even trauma that you've experienced. Often, some of the most giving, compassionate people are able to access that because they're able to stay in and work through their own pain. To follow that path, you have to be willing to kind of let go of your old ways of dealing with stress and overwhelm and discover a new way, a new daily practice, a new way of being. And it takes real courage to do that. So if you're watching this, I applaud you for the courage just to consider this, let alone to take action on it, which is the next step. The reality is that most people stay so distracted that they never even notice these callings, for these longings for something more. And even if they do, they don't have the courage to keep going and act on it and find the sort of the diamond in the pressure that's developing. It can feel uncomfortable and messy, but there is an invaluable gift in it for those who are willing to stick with it and respond. So if you're this far, stick with it. Now that's exactly the point where I find that I am, when I encounter people, that I am most able to offer some help and support for people who are at that point, kind of like, I don't know, am I being called to something deeper? So if you're feeling that little pull in your heart or in the back of your mind to go deeper, to look for something that's going to bring you more lasting relief from chronic stress and overwhelm, to discover the inner resources for resiliency, for creativity, for innovation, for deeper compassion, that you maybe feel like you're there, but you're not accessing them or in touch with them on a day-to-day level because of all the other stuff that's distracting, then the question right now is simply, what are you going to do about it? It's a difficult question, and one that I pose as an intentional kind of challenge. Now, there are different ways that you can deal with it and different things that you can try. One that I have developed that I want to offer to you right now is to jump on a breakthrough session. And we've built these breakthrough sessions using a proven method that's mostly asking questions and listening to help you uncover where you're currently being led by the Spirit, help you discover how to take that next step towards better health, better relationships, and greater spiritual connection and effectiveness in how you bring that presence into your leadership. So you can book your free breakthrough session right now by clicking on that link I posted or in the chat, or it's thomasjbushlack.com/apply. thomasjbushlack.com/ guided meditations or other forms of prayer and meditation gotten you to this point of growth and have been helpful, while also unlocking and unleashing this desire for something more? And if so, again, the question is how are you going to respond? I'm not arrogant enough to claim that saying yes to my offer and clicking that link is the same thing as saying yes to God directly, but I am confident enough in this process and have done it enough with enough different people and lived and come up with a game plan to know what to do next, to say yes to God and to deepen your practice and bring that into your leadership wherever you exercise that in your life. And if we can help you get there, we'll discuss that with you. And if not, we will bless you and send you on your way and even look for other resources or people who can help you. So it's really that simple. It could be the most powerful 45-minute phone conversation, breakthrough discussion session you ever have. So again, click that link and we'll talk to you soon. It's thomasjbushlack.com/apply. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll leave you again with that question. If you're feeling that call, that inkling for something more, what are you going to do with it? All right, take care, everybody.